All right, future CPAs, let's get right into it. We're going to talk about something you literally do all the time, buying stuff that doesn't even exist yet. And believe it or not, that's not just a cool shopping habit, it's a core concept you have got to master for the LECPA. Today, we're cracking the code on the two most critical parts of any sale, the object and the price. Let's do this.
No, seriously, think about it for a second. You pre-order a game that's months away from release. You snag concert tickets for a show that's happening next year. You might even drop some cash to reserve a limited edition sneaker drop. You are constantly, and I mean constantly, making legal contracts for things that don't exist yet. And understanding how that's possible? Well, that's how you're going to absolutely crush this section of the boards.
So, here's our game plan for today. We'll start with the basic blueprint of a contract. Then we'll do a deep dive into the object and then the price. We'll clear up some super confusing points, and then I'm going to leave you with some killer retention hacks to make sure this stuff actually sticks in your brain all the way to exam day.
Okay, first things first, we have to lay the foundation. The easiest way to think about a contract of sale is like building with Legos. You need a few very specific, absolutely essential blocks. If you don't have them, the whole thing just falls apart. It's not a thing.
This right here, this is your ground zero. It's basically Article 1458 of the Civil Code. It sounds simple, right? One person promises to deliver a specific thing, and the other person promises to pay a specific price for it. It's a two-way street. But trust me, every single word in that definition is a potential exam question just waiting to happen.
And here they are. These are our Lego blocks. You absolutely must have all three of them: consent, the object, and the price. If you're missing even one, poof, the contract is just gone. It's not just broken. Legally, it's considered to have never existed in the first place. It's void. For this explainer, we're going to zoom in on those last two, the object and the price. Okay, let's grab our first building block, the object. This is the what of the sale. It's the thing being sold. But it can't just be any random thing. It has to meet some very specific legal requirements.
And here is your first huge retention hack for today. Just remember the letters LDR. This is your mental checklist for a valid object. L is for licit, meaning it has to be legal to sell. You can't sell illegal drugs, right? D is for determinate, which means you have to know exactly what's being sold. And R is for the seller's right to transfer ownership when the time comes. LDR. Got it?
Now listen up, because this is a classic board exam trick question. The seller does not have to own the thing at the moment the contract is perfected, at the moment you both agree. They only need to have the right to transfer ownership at the moment of delivery. This one little rule is the entire legal reason pre-orders in futures markets can exist. It's a huge deal.
So this brings us to a really fascinating, kind of tricky distinction. Selling things that don't exist yet is perfectly legal, but the law splits it into two different categories. One is basically a calculated business risk, and the other is a straight-up gamble.
Okay, let's break this down. On one side, we have emptio re speratae. That's the sale of an expected thing. So think about buying next season's harvest of mangoes. The whole contract depends on those mangoes actually growing. If a typhoon wipes out the farm and there are no mangoes, there's no sale. Simple. But on the other side, we have emptio spei, the sale of a hope. The classic example is a lottery ticket. You're not buying the $1 million prize, you're buying the chance to win it. So even if your ticket loses, the sale was perfectly valid because you got what you paid for, the hope, the chance. The only time this doesn't work is if it's a vain hope, like selling a ticket for a lottery that's already been drawn. Obviously, that's not allowed.
All right, let's move on to our second essential building block, the price. Now, the main rule here is that the price has to be certain in money or something equivalent. But what does certain actually, mean in the real world?
So here's the key. Certain doesn't mean it has to be written in stone from day one. It just means it has to be determinable. It has to be something you can figure out later without the two parties having to meet and argue about it again. So as long as you have a clear formula, like whatever the market price of gold is next Tuesday, or you agree to let a third-party appraiser set the value, the price is considered certain enough for the law.
Now, this slide shows a huge distinction you need to get. If the price is just really, really low, what the law calls grossly inadequate, the sale is still valid. The law basically says, hey, we're not here to protect you from making a bad deal. But if the price is completely fake or simulated, meaning no money was ever actually intended to be paid, then the contract of sale is totally void. It might be hiding a donation, which could be valid, but you absolutely cannot call it a sale.
All right, let's talk about something that trips up so many students. It's a favorite for exam questions, so let's get it straight. The difference between earnest money and option money. They both involve paying some cash up front, but legally, they are worlds apart.
Okay, let's lock this in for good. Earnest money is part of the sale. Think of it as the first installment or a down payment. It is proof that the sale is perfected, that it's happening, and it binds the buyer to pay the rest of the price. On the other hand, option money is not part of the sale. It's a completely separate payment just to buy yourself time. It proves you have the option to buy, but you're not locked in yet. You're basically paying the seller to hold that offer open just for you for a certain period.
So, we've covered the core concepts. That's great. But the real question is, how do you make sure this information actually stays in your brain, not just for your next quiz, but for the LECPA, maybe 2 or 3 years from now? Let's get into some real practical study hacks.
First up, let's do a rapid-fire review. These are the absolute non-negotiables. 3 essential elements: consent, object, price. An object must be LDR. You gotta know the difference between selling an expected thing and selling a hope. The price must be certain, and remember, a bad deal doesn't void the sale. And finally, earnest money is proof of the sale. Option money just buys you time. Got it? Good.
Okay, now for the real game changers. These are the hacks that will burn this stuff into your long-term memory. Hack number 1, the Lego method. Every time you analyze a sale, actually visualize those 3 Lego blocks. If one's missing, just picture the whole thing toppling over. Hack number 2, link it to your life. Seriously, analyze your own purchases. Was that game pre-order an emptio re speratae? Was that reservation fee for a sneaker drop actually option money? And hack number 3, the ultimate test, teach a friend. The second you get stuck trying to explain it simply, boom, you've just found the exact thing you need to study more.
And that brings us full circle, right back to that fundamental definition we started with. See how it all fits? Every single concept we talked about, the object being determinate, the price being certain, it's all packed into this one sentence. If you can master the components, you can master the contract itself.
So, I'm going to leave you with this to think about. These laws were built for physical things, for cars and land and mangoes. But how do we apply a concept like a determinate object, or delivery to an NFT, or an in-game item, or even just raw data? The principles we covered today are your tools. But it's going to be your generation of CPAs and business leaders who have to figure out how to build with those tools on this new digital frontier. Think about that.